Well, it looks like dance fighting is still a strength of hers. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the 2021 action thriller Gunpowder Milkshake, which will be released on Netflix in the US on July 14th and theatrically in other countries on July 15th. A big thank you to Netflix for providing me with an early screener of this movie to review. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all that extra content. Gunpowder Milkshake stars Gillan, Chloe Coleman, and Lena Headey, and was directed by Navot Papushado. It tells the story of professional assassin Sam, played by Gillan, who must decide where her allegiances lie after a mission goes wrong and an 8¾ year-old is put in danger. It's been quite a while since I came across a film whose name so perfectly fit the movie itself. And I realized that might initially sound a little weird here, cause what the heck does Gunpowder Milkshake even mean, right? Although milkshakes do play a small role in the story, the fitting nature of this name is a little less literal and more in line with the general vibe of this film. Cause think about it, what does the word milkshake conjure in your mind? Something that's sweet and cool and refreshing. A fairly traditional treat, something that's associated with innocence and childhood. And then you add gunpowder to the mix. This puts a new twist on everything. Now you've got a more unpredictable and unstable blend, a bloody concoction with a bit of an explosive kick. And that combination is Gunpowder Milkshake in a nutshell. Or a glass. This is a movie that puts a quirky, fun twist on the assassin action subgenre. It combines elements that you've seen before in other movies, but presents them in playful and creative ways. And this produces a very unique tone that's as dichotomous, but also somehow perfectly blended as the name Gunpowder Milkshake. This film has got some intensity to its action. It doesn't shy away from moments of bloody brutality, but at the same time, it's a very fun ride that approaches an unexpected level of almost silliness at times. It's a serious story and has some really well done emotional elements to it, but the way it's told leans into some of the goofier aspects of the genre and the situations you typically encounter in movies like this. It certainly doesn't come across as parody, and I wouldn't even say it necessarily pokes fun at itself, but it's very playful in its delivery. Gillan is excellent in the role of Sam, expertly blending that sort of dichotomous tone that the film imparts. She's believable as this assassin character, this hit woman. She's brutal and badass, but also very funny. Like I mentioned before, this movie's very playful, so when we're introduced to this character, she's almost over-the-top stereotypical. Purposefully. She's very cold and delivers her lines with dramatic, deadpan seriousness, but also throws in quips and one-liners like the best of them. We do see some evolution as the story unfolds, but the movie isn't making fun of the character earlier in the film, it's just having fun with the situation. And so Gillan fits right into that with the demeanor, the line delivery, even the reactions and various looks she gives characters throughout the film. It's just so funny. But there's also more to this character than initially meets the eye. As I said before, there are some nice emotional layers to the story, so we do get to see other sides to Sam as the movie progresses. Eventually, we see her teamed up with other characters, which adds this new and pretty fun dimension to the story. There are some good relationships all around, but by far the best one for me was between Sam and Emily, the precocious young girl who gets caught up in this mission gone wrong scenario. Not only does this pairing draw some important emotional parallels to other things in the film, but it's also a source of near constant entertainment. Gillan and Coleman have great chemistry, and these two characters are just so fun together. In addition to its unique tonal blend, this film also has a very distinctive style that carries over across basically every aspect of the film. The set design, the costumes, the lighting, the cinematography and shot composition, the color grading, it's all very stylized, giving this impression of heightened reality without ever stepping too far over the line. If I had to try to describe the visual aesthetic here, using other movies as references, I would say that this is sort of a blend of Bad Times at the El Royale and Kingsman, with a bit of John Wick or Atomic Blonde neon flair. But I have to say, it doesn't feel like a stylistic copycat of any of those. It's its own unique blend, right down to the score and soundtrack. Speaking of style, we've got to talk about the action here. It's brutally bloody, fun, and extremely creative. Just like most things in this movie, the action initially seems like it's going to be very standard or traditional for this genre. Still really cool, but traditional. We get some bloody fights that are definitely influenced by Wiki and Gun Fu, but then the action scenarios start to get a little more ridiculous. Now, I don't say that as a bad thing, and I'm not talking about over-the-top ridiculous here. It's just that the playfulness that I mentioned starts to come through in fun and sort of silly ways. So we see the characters in unique situations, and they have to try to get out of those situations in very creative ways that you probably haven't seen before in films. I don't want to spoil the fun of any of these sequences, so I'm just going to say that my 3 favorites were ones that involved tape, one that had one of the most bizarrely conceived car chases I've ever seen, and one that probably would have benefited from the Dewey Decimal System. Like many other recent assassin films, Gunpowder Milkshake sets its story in a very intriguingly built world. Along the same lines as John Wick, Kingsman, and even Hotel Artemis, we're looking at a secret shadow world of sorts, hidden in plain sight in our own world, and they certainly have a lot of fun with that here, especially in the context of the library. In spite of this world building and a whole lot of creativity throughout the film, the story itself is very standard. I want to say predictable, but that tends to have an overly negative connotation, which I don't think is necessarily deserved in this case. It's just one of those movies where there's enough fun to be had with it, and enough unique elements to keep you fully engaged, even when the major story beats play out exactly how you would expect them to. But that's what you want out of a milkshake. A dependably satisfying treat that doesn't offer too many surprises on its own, but can be transformed into a unique and distinctive flavor with the addition of some unexpected and explosive toppings. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number 1 might sound incredibly simple, but this is just such a fun movie. I'll admit that this sort of thing is right up my alley, so maybe it's a little more fun to me than the average person, but man did I have a good time watching this. It's got a fun premise, a very distinctive style, some entertaining and creatively designed action sequences, a lot more humor than I expected, even based on the trailer, and some really good character dynamics. This movie functions as a self-contained story, but does leave a window open for a possible sequel, and with how much fun I had with this one, I would love to see a sequel. The second pro is kind of encompassed by the first, but it's the action, and I had a blast with that as well. It's this very unique blend. You get some brutal moments. It's graphic and bloody and people are decapitated and it's intense, but it's also incredibly fun and done very playfully. So many of the situations are just these absurd turn of events scenarios where the characters are stuck with what they're stuck with and have to make do. They're the kind of things where if you were to see them or even try to describe them outside of the context of the movie, they would probably come across as excessively silly. But in the context of the film, they work. They're still kind of silly and might make you laugh at the fun absurdity of some of the situations, but the sequences are so well done from a traditional action standpoint that you're not laughing at the movie so much as you're just having a really good time with the fun experience. On the con side, the only real issue was the predictability of the story, and I want to make the point that this was a minor issue for me and didn't really negatively affect my viewing experience. Although we've never quite had a movie just like this one, we have had movies that use the same tropes and story beats. So while you may not be able to predict exactly how a character is going to get out of a particular situation, you will probably be able to predict the general path that the story is going to take. So I put this on the con side, mostly because there were a few moments I was hoping it would take a less obvious path with its story, given the creativity shown elsewhere. But as I said before, this was definitely not a deal breaker for me. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying any of the films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Gunpowder Milkshake 4 out of 5 paws. It might not be a concoction for everyone, but this blend of bloody action, humor, and sentimental heart was a satisfyingly refreshing treat for me. I would recommend Gunpowder Milkshake to fans of action thrillers who don't mind a little bit of humor and playfulness. It has the brutality and action prowess of contemporaries like the John Wick series, however, it takes a slightly more irreverent approach to its story at times, producing something a little sillier and a little less serious. If humor is a deal breaker for you in action movies, then you'll probably be disappointed here, but if you're just looking for an entertaining, fun time, this milkshake should hit the spot. If you liked Gunpowder Milkshake, I would recommend Kingsman: The Secret Service. Although that film focuses on a hidden spy agency rather than a group of assassins, it has some similar world-building elements and also strikes a similar stylistic and tonal balance, blending extremely bloody action with more light-hearted fun. If you'd prefer another assassin-based story and don't mind something a little more serious, you should definitely check out John Wick and the entire Wick franchise. It's got some really impressive action and is yet another great example of world building in a story like this. And if you're looking for another stylish and fun movie, you might want to try Birds of Prey. It too focuses on a group of female characters trying to protect a younger girl who gets caught up in a dangerous situation. If you liked the character of Sam here, you're gonna love Huntress in Birds of Prey. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Gunpowder Milkshake? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's a movie that you think has a perfectly fitting title? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.